just as an instance, last week Sarvam announced the quality of improvement in OCR in different languages. But let's say it's English, or let's say it's any other region or language. There is substantial improvement in how we can convert legacy data into digital data and do further quality check. Technological help is there. What Dr. Sharul talked about in the context of human part of it, the leadership part of it, that challenge remains. The decision making and ownership and willingness to set up the process and then believe in the process. Other very important issue about the trustworthy of data, that's a very important line of work that my own group has done quite a bit of, and it comes down to the following. When you take generative AI, it's basically all black box technology. So virtually you can hardly do anything where you can create an AI process that is explainable to a user, to the right user. So suppose I'm using AI in medicine, then the doctors need to be able to, it should be explained in the form of doctor. So there we follow the a new generation of AI it's called neurosymbolic AI. So the neuro part is what you see in the current Gen AI. So essentially, at a very high level explanation is that you learn patterns from the data and you create what is called as this large parametric space. But it is probabilistic. So there is no definitive understanding of what the data is. There is a pattern from the data that is out there, and when question is hit against that parameter space, you can create something where you have learned how to write that looks to human, very, very human-like, and in that case you can trust. Nevertheless, there is no way of repeatability, and there is there is language, natural language processing, but there is no natural language understanding. Understanding comes by grounding it into the way, in the vocabularies that humans use. So in our mental health example, a project, we create a knowledge graph from the medical literature that is used. DSM-5 is one aspect of it for training mental health personnel. Now, when we give the explanation using this neurosymbolic method, symbolic part comes from that knowledge graph, then the terms used are the terms that doctors are trained for. Right? So, water retention in a body part versus edema, right? And so, giving the appropriate terms and making sure that it's indeed edema, it's not water outside the body, that kind of understanding system has, and that can be applied. That makes the things very trustworthy. I'll give you one more example. When you want to make trustworthy, you have to do this human level explanation. Other is safety. We all have heard about suicide. Teens have gone through suicide because of their conversation with these large language models. Well, when we developed our co-pilot for mental health, we took care of medical knowledge that for a MDD, major depressive disorder, in the conversation, you do not want to bring up suicidality. So, in our knowledge base, we would have knowledge that in this context, this is no-no. And so, if you use a regular LLM, it will ask questions. It does not understand the context of MDD. It will ask questions that would be, that will bring up suicidality, and that's bad. Doctor would not do that. So we will prevent that question. We will modify the question such that it belongs to that. And then there are other things. I'll say one last thing, and that is called alignment. So in the human world, in the society, we have some regulations, we have some policy, we have some laws, right? We have some guidelines. And somehow we have to follow that. In driving, we have to follow some guidelines, more in West, less in India, but we do. Now, alignment would mean that the AI, not just like human, would also follow those guidelines. So, if I have medical guidelines for diagnosis, medical guidelines for treatment, I would represent that in the symbolic form, and this neurosymbolic approach would make sure that those guidelines are consulted and is adhering to those guidelines, not doing the things that you do without the context in a LLM or in neural network based system, right? So the ecosystem, the new set of techniques that are coming in the picture, and which we started working on in 2016, are giving us next generation of AI, which IAIRO, by the way, is building. We are building a platform on the top of infrastructure to create models that are more trustworthy in the way I described.